Morning, Cole Out Baptist. Glad you could join us for the devotion time. It's always exciting to be able to come to you and share some thoughts. And I was just thinking about our missionaries and been praying for them. And I want to say how much I appreciate your faithfulness in giving to missions during this time. And I was reading over in 1 Thessalonians, and a missionary, the Apostle Paul, was writing to the church at Thessalonica. And when he gets to the end of the book, he has a lot of short challenges and reminders and requests. And in verse 25, this very short verse, he says, "Brethren, pray for us." And after reading many of the epistles and understanding the challenges that the Apostle Paul faced as a missionary, you can understand right well the power and the full meaning behind this verse, "Brethren, pray for us." He needed prayer. And the truth is anybody engaged in God's work needs prayer. The fact is we face a severe enemy that opposes Christ, and that is Satan and all of his emissaries. We know that the world is no friend of grace to help us on to God. And we know that we battle even our own flesh. And so we all need prayer, and we need to pray for our missionaries. And so I just wanted to take this time to give you an update from some of our missionaries. First, we have a letter from Ernie and Minoka Brown. As you might remember, years ago, they did some work for the Lord over on Maui in Kihei. And then he had a heart attack, and then the Lord led them to, after his heart attack, to go to Ecuador. And there he and his wife Minoka learned the language. They were involved in establishing churches, teaching in a Bible college, and then as a result of his heart problems, he does make trips over there, but he had to come home because he needed to be near good medical care for his ongoing heart troubles. So he's over there in his home state of Ohio, but there he is ministering and has a ministry to the Mexican or Spanish-speaking people, and that's great. But he does give a report from Ecuador, and he talks about how one of the pastors that was trained and reached for the Lord over there has been asked to lead the Ecuadorian juvenile correction facilities. Before this pastor came to know the Lord, he was a high-ranking officer in the military. And then one of his daughters, his name is Pastor Luis, is also being used of the Lord. She has a degree in psychology from the University of Quito, and she's working with about 200 people from ages 12 to 18. She always wanted to serve the Lord as a missionary, and she's not maybe in the capacity of full missionary, but she is being able to use of the Lord, using her degree and to minister to people and point them to the Lord. And just a few things he talks about over there in Ecuador. And then he talks about his work there in Ohio with the Spanish-speaking people, mentioning how that some have had to move away, but they're planning to come back. And then also noting that it's difficult to maintain the work with their small Spanish-speaking flock during this coronavirus time. Then I have a letter here from Miss Karen Worth, missionary to Indonesia. She mentions how that she's trying to get used to this new norm, and she talks about how that things are open to get supplies, but she does say it is Ramadan, which is the Muslim month of fasting, and that began on Friday, and it'll climax toward the end of May. And something unusual, most people celebrate Ramadan in their home area with their families, so there's a mass exodus out of Jakarta. But no one's able to travel at this time, and so it's interesting. She does sadly report that the Bible college is not being able to be conducted at this time, and that's where she teaches. But she's had a burden for the Sunday school children. So what she's done is she's asked an Indonesian young lady that's a very energetic Sunday school teacher to come in, and they're using an application and this app on phones only will contain 6 minutes. And so what they're doing is they're meeting together and they're doing like a 6-minute Bible study, less than 6 minutes. And they're doing 3 of those at a time, once a week, and then they're sending those out. And the fascinating thing about Indonesia is, like a lot of third world countries, it's unusual. They may be very, very poor, but somehow they're able to come up with cell phones. And so this is an opportunity, and it looks like the work is going on, even though we're many places, Indonesia included, we're grounded. And then here is a letter from the Waltz family. They are missionaries to Taiwan. You might remember they were formerly missionaries to China, but then they were actually kicked out by the Chinese government, and so they are looking forward to getting back. They've been on furlough, and they have a plane ticket in May, and it looks like they're going to be able to go there. They need about $150,000 for this first church plant to get a church property. They have $10,000 now, and so they're praying about getting another $140,000. So pray for them. Then I got a letter from the Post, who are missionaries in New Brunswick, French-speaking Canada, and they're talking about it like all the other missionaries are, about the difficulties of trying to conduct the Lord's work while at the same time being locked down at home. He does announce that his 2 boys are able to continue their Bible college training online, and then his married children have just announced to him that they're going to be grandparents, and so this is his first grandchild, so they're excited about that. So pray for the Post. And then of course from Maui we have Ernie Brown's brother Arza, and he pastors over in Lahaina, and our church has had a part in that work for many, many years. He talks about the COVID-19 pandemic, and he talks about how that their church has been hit pretty hard with this. Maui has on the island at any given time during this low time even, they'll have 52,000 visitors, but the other day they heard a report that only 10 visitors arrived. So that's a drastic downturn. And even the visitors that do arrive, they have to be quarantined in the hotel. What does that have to do with the church? Well, in his church, many of the people are employed by the tourism industry. And so he estimates that about 80% of those that attend his church are out of work at this present time. And so that is going to present some problems if that goes on over an extended period of time. And I think that illustrates perfectly how we need to be praying that we can get back to doing things normal, that the scientists and the people that are working on this problem can figure out a way to where we can get this thing cured, get this thing treated, and at the same time we can get back to work, we can get back to enjoy many of our liberties, and that things can return to normal. And certainly when it comes to God's work, we're trying to do everything, and as I read through all these missionary letters, they're all doing the same thing. They're trying to do the best they can to continue with God's work. Speaking of God's work, I want to invite you to tune in this Sunday. We're going to be doing a couple of things different. We're going to try to streamline the service a little bit, and then in addition to that, we're going to try to add a couple of little things that we think will be interesting for you, and try to maybe gear our service for those of you that are watching online, and try to gear it a little bit more toward that application. So pray for us. We're here to serve you. If there's something you need, you let us know, and we're here to help you in any way we can. We love you, and we miss getting to see you, but every now and then we get to run into you. We had the Wilsons last night stop by, and then they were able to meet their new little baby, Thomas, and he's a cute one, and so we're thankful for getting to see them just for a moment. And then, of course, tomorrow morning, Marcus and Candace will be getting married. And so life goes on, and God's work goes on. And I hope you'll tune in Sunday. Miss Brooke Isbell, our 4th grade teacher, will be doing Sunday school at 9:30. Then we'll have the morning service in the book of Romans, chapter 14, for the sermon. And I hope you'll tune in and see us then. God bless you. Aloha.